Hey Algebra 1, it's Mrs. Victor. Sorry I'm not there today. I am home with my sick child. My son has had a fever, so he can't go to daycare today. And Miss Lindstrom has a meeting, so I apologize that neither one of us are there. I'm hoping that this video will suffice in both of our absences. So to get started, I'd like you guys to turn your workbooks to page 42. On page 42, you should find it a blank page with a warm-up section at the top and then a practice section beneath that. What I want you to do is follow along with me. I'm going to do the warm-up questions with you. We are then going to take a look at homework answers and go over each of the 4 homework questions from last night, and then we're going to continue with some more practice. What I'd like you to do is follow along on page 42 in detail, taking notes just as you would in class, or maybe even better than you would in class, because then you're going to be taking a picture of page 42, possibly page 43 if you need the space, and you're going to submit that picture or pictures in Google Classroom as an assignment. So I'm hoping that this will motivate you guys to take really good notes and make 5th period the best that it can be, since there's 2 subs in there. All right, so let's get started on page 42. What I want to say before I get started is that if you ever need to pause the video, which you probably will have to do at some point, don't be afraid to pause it, catch up on your own piece of paper, and then press play again, or rewind if you have to. So let's go ahead and get started on page 42. Yesterday you learned how to solve a radical equation. That's an equation that has a radical in it. What I like to do when I'm solving these is I like to circle the actual radical itself and think about getting that piece completely by itself. Okay, if it also helps, you can draw a line down the middle where your equal sign is. And so I can see I have to get the square root of x completely by itself, so I would start by subtracting 3 from both sides. Okay, after subtracting 3, those cancel. I'm still left with the square root of x on the left-hand side, and then 8 minus 3 is 5. Now I'm not done here because my last step is to get rid of that square root. What you learned yesterday was the only way to get rid of a square root is to do the opposite function, and that is to square both sides. So I always put parentheses around both sides and I square both sides. The reason this works, and we've done this before in the opposite direction when we were trying to solve an x squared, the squared piece and the radical piece, those both cancel each other out. So what you're left with on the left-hand side is just simply x. So this 2 cancels with the radical and they go away. And then on the right-hand side, you just had to figure out what 5 squared is, and you should get 25. Now I'm hoping Mrs. Schumacher and Mr. Thurwell both talked about how you need to check your answers when you're finished. Because a lot of times we get what's called extraneous solutions. So if I check my solution, I'm going to go back to the beginning and I'm going to take 25 and I'm going to plug it back in for x. So I don't have the square root of x, I have the square root of 25, and then outside the square root is plus 3 equals 8. And I just have to ask myself, does the left side equal the right side? So square root of 25, and in fact here's where I would probably recommend just going straight to your calculator. So I would do square root of 25, make sure you get out of the square root there, and then plus 3, and that gets me 8. So I know that the answer that I found is correct because the left side and the right side are both 8, so the answer is 25. Okay. All right, I'm going to do the next one in a little bit less detail, just because I felt like I went into a lot of detail with that first one since I wasn't there yesterday. So again, I like to circle the square root. You'll notice there's a little bit more in this square root versus the first problem. But same concept, draw the line where the equal sign is if it helps, and we want to get rid of anything outside of the circle first, okay? There's nothing in front that we have to worry about, but there is something afterwards, so we start by adding 4 to both sides. That leaves us with the square root of x plus 3 on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, 7 plus 4 is 11. Now you cannot subtract 3 here. Please do not subtract 3 because the plus 3 is under the radical. Before you can move that 3, you have to get rid of the radical, and so you're going to square both sides. The little 2 here cancels with the root, and we have x plus 3 come out. Now it's no longer under a square root, and then 11 squared is 121. One more step here is to subtract the 3 over. So now you can move that 3 over once the radical is gone, and we get 118. Okay. Again, you want to check your answer because there's a lot of times where you get extraneous solutions. So I'm going to put the 118 back in the beginning for x. So I have 118 plus 3 under the radical minus 4, and I'm asking myself, does it equal 7? So here's where I would go straight to my calculator, ignore the equal 7, okay, and just type in square root 118 plus 3. Now make sure you get out of the square root, and then minus 4, and we should get 7, which we do. And so that tells me that I have the right answer, okay? All right, at this point I would ask if there's any questions, but it's a video, so I can't do that. All right, let's go over homework answers. So go back to page 40. So this was all on page 40. And here are homework solutions. Okay, I'm going to very quickly go through each problem just in case you didn't get any right. You can watch my work and see if there's any errors here. Okay, so number 10, we have square root of t, and then on the outside minus 4 equals 7. The minus 4 is not under the radical, so I'm going to go ahead and add 4. I have square root of t equals 11. Now I square both sides, and I get t equals 121. So that's why they got 121 for number 10. I'm not going to bother checking my answers here because I can see the textbook says that it works. All right, number 12, let's go over here. I have square root of c plus 10 equals 4. The plus 10 is under the radical, so I can't touch it yet. I have to get rid of the radical first. Okay, so I square, unlike over here I added 4, here I have to square both sides first. So each problem is a little bit different. Oops. 4 squared is 16, not 14, and then I can subtract the 10, and 16 minus 10 is 6. Again, I'm not going to check my answer. I can see that that's correct from the textbook. All right, number 19, we should get 7 as the answer. Again, if I'm going too fast for any of these, feel free to pause the video. All right, this one has a lot going on. So I'm going to circle the radical. Okay, draw my line. The first thing I have to do is subtract the 4. The 4 is not inside the radical, so it's okay to subtract it. Bring all that down. I get 10 on the right-hand side. Again, circle the radical if it helps. Now I have a 5 on the outside. I have to get rid of that before I get rid of the radical. So now the 5's cancel. I have square root of a minus 3 inside, and then 10 divided by 5 is 2. Now I can square both sides. Don't add 3 yet. You got to get rid of the radical first. So we have a minus 3 equals 4. Excuse me, and then we can add 3. So we get a equals 7. And again, I'm not going to check it because I can see that the textbook verifies that it is correct. All right, I'll put 20 over here. I'm not going to draw an arrow because I'll go right through that question. So let's do 2 root x minus 11 minus 8 equals 4. All right, this one's similar, so I'll go a little bit faster. I'm not necessarily going to narrate everything. Here's my radical plus 8. I get 12. Now divide by 2. I get square root of x minus 11 equals 6. Now I can square both sides. Oops. I went to write the radical again, and I don't need to. X minus 11 equals 36, plus 11, x equals 47. So no extraneous answers on this homework assignment. Okay, so that's homework. Hopefully that went smoothly and you have no questions. So let's go back to page 42, back to the same problem or the same page where we were doing the warm-up. And this is where I want you guys to do questions where it says practice, okay, right underneath where it says practice. All right, we're about 10 minutes in. I have a total of 6 questions, so hopefully I can do these 6 questions maybe within 12 minutes or so, because I don't want this video to be too terribly long. All right, what I'd like you guys to do is pause the video, try it on your own, and then press play and see if you get it right. Okay, so go ahead and pause it, and then I'll do the problem. Okay, let's see if you got it right. First, we want to subtract 2 from both sides. We have square root of x equals 7. And then I square both sides, and I get x equals 49. Okay, I do want to check that. I put 49 back into the original problem here. So square root of 49 plus 2, does it equal 9? Okay, that's where I would bring my calculator into play. And I can say square root of 49 plus 2, and I do get 9. So that verifies that it's correct. All right, let's move on to number 2. Hey guys, do me a favor and try to label each problem as you're working on them. Say, hey, Mrs. Victor, this is number 1. Hey, now I'm on number 2. So go ahead and write 1 and 2 so I know which one you were working on in the moment. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, try this one without me, and then press play and see if you got it right. Okay, let's see if you got this one right. So we're going to do plus 4. Those cancel. I've got square root of x equals 5. Now I square both sides. And we have x equals 25. Okay, I'm going to plug it back in, make sure it works. So 25 goes in for x. So I have square root of 25. And then on the outside, minus 4. Does it equal 1? Okay, in my calculator, I do square root of 25. Feel free to press enter and then subtract 4. And you should get 1, which we do. So that double checks that I got it right. All right, those 2 were more easy questions. So let's move on to ones that are a little bit more work. So here's number 3. Make sure you label it number 3 for me. All right, here's my radical. Oh, first of all, pause the video, try it on your own first, and then press play and see how you do. Okay, so let's see if you got this one right. Here's my radical. The plus 4 is not inside the radical, so I can go ahead and subtract that over. I now have square root of x minus 1 equals 3. Okay, now I can square both sides. Do not add 1 to both sides yet. Okay, you have to get rid of the radical first. So we have x minus 1 equals 9. Now you can add 1 because it's no longer in the radical, and you get x equals 10. Let's plug it back in, make sure it works. I'm running out of room here, so bear with me. If I had the whiteboard, I would be able to have all that room. Okay, so I'm going to take the 10, plug it back into the beginning. Plug the 10 back in for x, so I have 10 minus 1 under the square root plus 4 equals 7. I'm just going to type the left side into the calculator. So I have square root of 10 minus 1. I'm going to press enter and then plus 4, and I get 7, which is perfect. That's what I was hoping for. All right, let's move on to number 4. All right, here's number 4. Pause the video, try it on your own, see if you can get it right, and then press play and double check your work. All right, let's see if you got that one right. I would first subtract the 7 from both sides. Those would cancel. I have square root of x plus 2 equals, oops, that's negative 5. Negative 5. 2 minus 7 is negative 5. Do not subtract 2 yet. We have to square both sides. Okay, and I get x plus 2 equals 25. Now, I'm going to take a little breather here. With this particular section of the problem, 2 minus 7 is negative 5. If you take negative 5 and square it in your calculator, let me actually clear my screen so you can just focus on that. If you take your negative 5 and square it in your calculator without parentheses, you get negative 25. That is not true. If you take negative 5 times itself, negative 5 times negative 5 is a positive 25. So that's why I always put parentheses. Notice for every problem I've done so far, I put parentheses, whether it's positive or negative, but especially when it's negative, because when you go to square that in your calculator with parentheses, you get a positive 25. So make sure that that's positive 25 and not negative 25. All right, now I subtract 2. and I get x equals 23. Okay, now I really, really hope you guys checked your answer on this one. And I can't remember if yesterday's notes had an extraneous one in it or not, because I wasn't here to teach it. But this one is extraneous, and watch carefully as to why. The 23 goes in for x. Okay, just like that. And then the plus 7 is outside of the radical, and I'm wondering, does all of that equal 2? Okay, so in my calculator, I'm going to do the square root of 23 plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and then I'll add 7. I do not get 2. Oops, I accidentally added 5. Here, let me do that again. Square root of 23 plus 2 plus 7. I don't get 2. I get 12. I get 12 equals 2. That is not true. Okay, that tells me this is not a true answer. And since it's the only answer I have, here's what you guys want to put. And again, I can't remember if this came up in yesterday's notes. Because that's the only answer we got and it doesn't work, our overall answer is no solution. There is no number that you can put in there that would work. Here's the reason why. When we subtracted the 7, we got a negative number here. A square root can never be equal to a negative number. So that's why we get no solution there. We can talk about this a little bit more once I'm back, or feel free to ask Mr. Spivak for clarification if you need it. He should be there 7th period. Okay, we have 2 more. Let's move on. All right, here's number 5. Go ahead and pause the video, try it on your own, see how you do, and then press play and check your answers. All right, let's see how you did. This one has an extra piece in front of the square root, so I'm hoping you were okay with this one as well. I'm going to circle my square root. The first thing I have to do is subtract the 1. Okay, I always do addition and subtraction first. I'm left with 2 square root of x equals 6. 7 minus 1 is 6. Now, don't square both sides yet. Okay, don't square both sides. You've got a 2 in front of the square root. So divide both sides by 2. The 2's will cancel. And then we have square root of x equals 3. Now you can square both sides. And we get x equals 9. Okay, let's plug that in, make sure it works. Let me draw this line here so I've got a little bit of space. So I have 2 square root of 9, taking the 9, putting it back in for x, plus 1, and I want to know, does that all equal 7? Okay, I'm going to take the left side, 2 square root of 9. I'm going to go ahead and press enter and then plus 1, and I get 7, which is exactly what I was hoping for. So no extraneous answer here. All right, moving on. Last question for this particular video. All right, go ahead and pause the video, try it on your own, and then press play and see how you did. Okay, so I'm circling my radical here. The first thing I want to do is subtract the 1. Always add or subtract first. I'm ending up with 3 on the outside, and square root of x plus 3 equals 9. Okay, don't square both sides yet. You've got that 3 on the outside. Okay, so we have to divide both sides by 3 first. And we end up with square root of x plus 3 equals 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now we can square both sides. And we get x plus 3 on the outside. Or I should say x plus 3 comes out, and then 3 squared is 9. Now you can subtract 3. And we get x equals 6. Okay, let's check our work. I've got 3 and then square root of 6 plus 3 inside the radical because I'm taking the 6, plugging it in here for x. And then I have plus 1. I want to know, does that equal 10? Sorry, I'm really running out of space here. I should have made this white text box a little bigger. All right, so I'm going to type the left side into the calculator. I have 3 square root of 6 plus 3. At this point, feel free to press enter and then plus 1. And I get 10, which was exactly what I was hoping for. So I know my answer is correct. All right, so I'm hoping this video was helpful. Look at that, I'm under 20 minutes, perfect. Make sure you take a picture of your work for today and submit it under the assignment where you found this video. and I hope to see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.